Ex-homeless Redditors, what was the scariest thing that you ever saw on the streets? NSFW. I was homeless back when I was 19. After a few weeks of sleeping rough, I was approached one evening by a man dressed as a priest. At this point, I had no idea if he was a priest or someone out to deceive me. Being wary of the priest outfit, I straight away told him I have no interest in talking about God. What he said next has stuck with me ever since. I am not here to talk about God. I'm here to make sure you are safe. We talked for quite a while until it was dark, and that's when he offered me a bed for the night. Alarm bells were going off in my head, but he had seemed genuine, so I went with "Hi, monsieur." He drove me to a house in the suburbs and asked me to wait in his car whilst he spoke to someone. A few minutes later, he returned with another man who offered to let me sleep in his garage for the night. Everything inside me was saying, this is a bad idea, but I accepted as I had nothing left to lose. The garage was pretty standard. Tools, workbench, etc. Except in the corner there was a box spring and some blankets. There was a connecting door to the main house that the man told me he would have to keep locked. During the night, he apologized but said he had kids in the house and couldn't take the risk. The priest asked if he could come by in the morning and speak to me. Then went into the house. The man. I don't think I slept at all that night. I was terrified. I had no reason to be afraid of either man, as they had been nothing but nice to me. However, after living on the streets for a while, you come to learn that nothing comes for free and you shouldn't trust anyone. The morning rolls around and the most amazing thing happened. The man knocked on his own garage door to ask me if he could come in. This might not sound amazing, but when you've been living rough with zero privacy, someone asking if they can enter your space, which is actually his space, gives you a sense of being human again. Someone actually respects you enough to ask your permission. I spoke with both him and the priest every day for the 7 weeks I slept in his garage. Between them, they managed to get me into a subsidized efficiency apartment. Think studio apartment, but a lot smaller. Got me a job and helped me get my life back on track. That was over 20 years ago, and I will also be indebted to both of them, monsieur. I still send Christmas cards to the man whose garage was my home and visited him 2 years ago for Thanksgiving. Sadly, the priest passed away a few years back, but I guarantee that if there is a heaven, he got fast-tracked in. Whilst reading that ever sentence, I was waiting for a nasty ending. So fucking glad that didn't happen. Cold weather. I thought I was going to die one night. I was so cold. I remember waking up thinking, you need to move or you are going to die. This was the scariest thing for me. I ended up sleeping in buses. Burning sterno. It's like jellied rubbing alcohol that burns for a good while. I would try to constantly be walking, cause if I stopped I'd probably fall asleep and die. I also sometimes rested under a bridge from time to time. One time I fell asleep under the bridge and I woke up finally feeling warm and cozy and thought it was nice to finally be able to rest. Then I realized that it's way too cold for this and I can't move without that frozen fingers pain everywhere. Struggled real hard to get my sterno out and could barely bend my fingers enough to light it. Like my hands were nearly useless. I'm really glad I woke up. Edit. Thanks for the gold. Edit 2. All you guys telling me you're glad I woke up got me feeling all warm and fuzzy inside. I haven't felt this happy to be alive for a long time. Thank you. I remember waking up every half hour to make sure my dog was still breathing. Cold fucking kills. I'm glad you woke up too. There is a drainage ditch in my area that the local homeless people tend to bed down in. A few years ago, when I found myself destitute, I spent one night down there. That night I witnessed a Molotov get thrown into another dude's spot, which led to a huge fire that ran rampant through the area. Yeah, I bought a tent the next day and started camping in the local mountains. That's insane. I was just sleeping around where other guys in my city sleep. Then just see some teens stabbing one of the homeless guys multiple times. ran away from there, never turned back. Man, there are some fucked up people out there. I hope somehow that guy survived. My buddy is a public defender, only for 10 years until the state pays his loans. The stories he tells will never stop surprising you. Every time we eat dinner together, I always have to be reminded to close my mouth because my jaw is always on the table in disbelief of how fucked up society is out there. Bottom line, get a public defender in your circle of friends. Your dinner parties will never be lame again. I was staying in a homeless shelter that had a men's side and a woman's side. Most of the men were convicted sex offenders. In the 8 months I spent in that hell on earth, I was friends with 3 women who were raped by some of these men. The truly scary thing, the women were actively discouraged from telling anyone what had happened, especially the police. If they filed a report with the police, they were permanently barred from the shelter. That place, one of the most celebrated in my state, regularly has the mayor and governor drop by, is the most evil place on earth. ETA, the Pine Street in Boston, MA. It just didn't occur to me to say where, cause I never expected many people to see this. Also ETA, the rapes didn't take place inside the shelters. The men stayed in one building, the women in another. The rapes took place outside, after dark, in areas that didn't have good CCTV coverage. And tie for my first awards. Please tell your local news organization if they can interview some of your friends who were raped. All the better. Authorities might not give a shit, but a hungry reporter sure as hell would. People who had been homeless wail longer than me. Trust me, there is nothing scarier on the streets than the meth couple who this has been their day in and day out for 1,000s of days. People joke about meth, but unless you've been around chronic users, you don't understand how truly scary it makes people become. Like a whole new level of animalistic, impulsive, not right in the head people. I fucking hate meth. Fuck meth. I know plenty of drug users that can do drugs casually for recreation. Except meth. I never met anyone that done it more than a handful of times that didn't end up crashing and burning. Lost a few people. They're not dead but merely a meth-fueled husk of their former selves. I agree, man. I was a heroin addict for 7 years and my life only truly went to shit when I started flipping meth and taking it daily. I used meth daily for 8 months or so and honestly didn't love it. It was just around, cheap, and kept me from doing more dope. It destroyed me, quick. Before meth I had a cushy job in finance at a big firm with no one aware that I shot dope in the bathroom, and was homeless, cleaning up before work. After meth I had coworkers convinced I was dying, got taken out by an ambulance multiple times at work, and wound up almost losing my job. I got off meth before I could lose it. That shit is no joke. Same with crack. I hung around with some hardened addicts and criminals and most of them would joke about how you can never trust a meth or crackhead. Peace. Over a year sober today and couldn't be more proud. Snow. I'm a big, scary dude, so I never had trouble with people picking on me or whatever. In that sense the streets were safe to me. But seeing snow for the first time that year just made me cry and panic. It was too early for snow. I wasn't ready for that type of cold and was hoping to be on my feet again before the winter came. Beautiful thing like snow just fucked me up in so many ways. Hope things are looking better for you now. Thank you. Oh yeah? I turned it around. This was 7 years ago. I was making art from trash and selling it in markets and posting it on the streets. I became pretty known for it. I've traveled the world for exhibitions and worked with very famous artists. I'm still struggling with money. I work non-stop and now with the virus I'm struggling even more. But I rent a house with a big garden for my dog and own a car. I'm far away from that life and I don't think I'll ever be in that position. Edit. Really humbled and overwhelmed by all the messages and positive thoughts. My IG is at glil247 for people who want to check out my work. All my love and best wishes to you. Wonderful Redditors. Waking up to a shotgun being pointed directly at my head. I wasn't truly homeless but had no money or bank card and was trying to get back to my parents. Following nearly being strangled to death by my ex. The actual fight happened whilst we were out, so I had no spare, no clothes. I'd left my wallet at his and only had a dying phone on me. I tried getting money for a train but only really managed enough for a bus fare to the next town, and decided to try hitchhiking. Late into the night I gave up and managed to sneak into a barn where I was able to get comfortable enough to sleep. Turns out I didn't close the door enough and the farmer found me in the morning after taking his gun to investigate. He woke me up. I think he coughed loudly, with the gun painted at me, and I nearly shat myself. It asked me what I thought I was doing in his barn and quizzed me on how I got in. He asked to see my arms before he lowered the gun and he started chatting. He was quite nice though, and after talking to him for a while he took me back to his house and fed me and let me have a shower. Glad your encounter was wholesome and not as fucked as the other stuff I'm reading here. Every farmer has a shotgun. Lots of stabbings and rapes. I was stalked by a gang one night on my way home from work. I still have no idea how I wasn't raped or mugged. Once I woke up suddenly to a not homeless man holding a huge knife staring at me inside the abandoned building's basement I was sleeping in. Once he noticed I was awake, he asked if I was Russian. I said no and he said he was looking for a different girl. Gave me $20 and left. Edit. If you can read this and immediately think, yes, it's the best idea to send this woman disgustingly perverse messages and ask for nudes, I hope your dick stay flaccid for eternity. Not sure what the word is in English, but this guy could be a member of the Russian mafia flesh market. Probably was looking for a runaway prostitute. Edit. The word isn't bratwa. It's a specific word for a gangster that collects runaway prostitutes. I am blue-eyed and blonde, so I'd have to deal with people thinking I was Russian way too much. Now that I am out of that life, I still get spoken to in Russian all the time. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.